Lovely beings, and welcome to another Galactic Mayan astrology report. If you've been here before, you will already know what I'm about to say, but these astrological forecasts are posted by me every 13 days in alignment with the Galactic Mayan calendar or the Dreamspell, and they highlight the 13-day processes that we go through within that time code. And it's this really amazing system of time that looks at the 9 months, the 260-day cycle of human gestation. And within that, it's split into 20 archetypes with 13-day processes that basically support us to journey evolutionary all the phases of what it is to be a human being, from the very mundane 3D to the super cosmic aspects. So this is a report for the 11th of September 2024, and we all know that date very well because in 2001 the horrendous shit went down with the Twin Towers, and we're still feeling the implications of that. And it's fascinating, really, depending on how you see what unfolded then, and the whys and the whats and the hows. I think that moment in time was a huge unraveling for humanity, a beginning of a new story, a beginning of a quest for truth, and a questioning of truths that had been fed, and a beginning to kind of break down the manipulation, and but essentially beginning to find our the truth that sits with us, the narrative that is right for us. And this really links in, and it's a really wonderful mirror of the White Worldbridger energy that we are moving into on the 11th of September. So the White Worldbridger energy is about death, and sometimes within that we can see and anticipate these certain energies astrologically as like, fuck, death, someone's got to die, something's got to die, and we can take it quite literally. But a lot of the time these energies are moving through our experience metaphorically. So the Worldbridger is the notion of it's almost the Tower card in tarot, this kind of death that leads to the resurrection. And I think sometimes in our experience as a human being, this is our ultimate fear, isn't it? Because what's the proof for resurrection? What's the proof for anything happening after we die? We just die and then you meet this eternal nothingness. And yeah, right, that might be true. But whilst you're here, every death that we go through, every ending that we meet is also a beginning of a new chapter, a new way. So with the Worldbridger being a white sign, it's this refinement. And I've often talked about that as the camera, the manual old school camera now, being brought into focus. So it's the wiggle of blurry, 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 blurry. Oh, fuck. And I think the thing that really brings that oh fuck is responsibility, and seeing, as I was just sort of speaking into with the White Worldbridger energy, that we are constantly scripting our own lives, and the scripts that the stories that the worlds that we have built for ourselves and continue to build for ourselves have come from a script that we inherited. Whether we inherited that script through society, through our family, through our traumatic experiences, it's an imprint that's kind of probably been chosen by our souls on some level to move through. But it's a story, that we have kind of taken in and then see everything through. So the old worlds that we have been living as a collective, let's start with the collective and move into the personal. Again, to kind of speak about what happened in 2001, at that time, it was this huge horrendous demonstration that shocked, that damaged, that, yeah, sent this huge shockwave through the planet, through the human story. And one of the big pieces of that is we are not fucking safe. And the other piece of that is that we can't trust each other. Now, whether or not you've got a conspiracy theory hat, or you saw that for what it was presented, it doesn't matter, because the thing that was transmitted through that is we're not safe and we can't trust each other. Whether that's because we can't trust the government, or whether that's because we can't trust that certain group of people, or whatever it is, when we filter it down, what's operating at the core of humanity is I'm not safe and we can't trust each other. So these huge things that we experience throughout our lives bring us these, like, you know, that's kind of the core piece that gets landed into the being. But then there's like all these stories about what that means for us. It gets fucking personal then, doesn't it? So the world that we are operating through right now is really hard. There's no getting away from that. You know, it's so fucking fast, like unnaturally fast. And so, like, with all of the technological stuff, it's happened so quickly and it's so unresearched, and it's just exploded. And like the electronic like hits that we're getting all the fucking time, we're energetic beings. Like, we are energetic beings, and the energetic field is bombarded, and the speed that the world is moving in is phenomenal. And then we're also going through this moment, you know, we've entered the photon belt, whether you believe in that or not. The notion is that Alcyone, which is the star that our solar system orbits in alignment with Sirius in the center of the Pleiades, and that whole thing is then moving around the galactic center. Alcyone has, like all living things, this amazing toroidal field, and the toroidal field has a band of energy. It's basically where the current is running through. And when we hit this current in Alcyone, you know, as we move around, it's like, oh fuck, we're on the current, ding, you know, we're getting zapped to fuck. So it's like this amazing moment of like, whoosh. But what that means is, like, for our systems, we are going from the old world of humanity, of slavery, of unsafety, of sleep. And the sleep isn't, I don't know that there's conspiracies. The sleep is, I've forgotten that I'm a fucking creator. I've forgotten that what I'm living, I am creating. And if I want to, I can fucking change what I'm creating. And it's not easy, but that's the potential. So to be asleep is to forget that, you know? So as we hit this point in our galactic movements, it's all coming up, which is why the pressure's so strong, because it's like all of the, I think I said this at the time, like around, because in 2019, in the July, was when the COVID stuff just started to move, and then it fully came online in 2020, at the beginning of 2020. So it was in the first year of this 13-year cycle of White Wizard that we are in as a collective. And at that point, it was like the underworld flipped. So all of a sudden, you know, I don't know if you've watched Stranger Things, but like in Stranger Things, there's this like basically an imprint upon the world, like a different dimensional reality, which is the hell that's present. And this is what we're moving through now, but it's not because there's anything wrong. It's because this is what's needed to burn off from humanity. This is what's needed for us to really come into this new world. And yeah, all right, there's a new world order potentially. There's a notion of, we're going to keep everyone totally enslaved, we're going to wipe things, we're going to all right, one potential reality. If everyone's sat there being like, fuck me, that's what's coming, what are we going to get? Because we are the creators of it. So when we're talking about creating new worlds, it's about the script that we are writing. We are in the driving seat within what's unfolding in our worlds. And it's so hard to take that in and own it because it's so uncomfortable. If the book ends with us, there's no fucker else to blame. There's nothing from the past. There's nothing in the world. You know, it's not to say that we don't have all of those imprints, but everyone's had all of those imprints. And essentially what we are here to do is wake ourselves up into the recognition that we create our reality together. Not in a like, I'm going to sit and do my affirmations way, in a my deep pain keeps fucking looping in the same shit. But in order for us to heighten ourselves, you know, or in terms of like vibration and being able to drive as opposed to being passive, which is another way of saying, you know, the victim or the creator, we've got to allow it to come up. We've got to allow the hell to be remembered. We've got to open it and then be like, oh, fuck. But then trace it back. Like, when did this start and why did it start? Like, what is this script? What is this story that I'm building my worlds around? And do I want to keep doing that? Oh, well, it feels totally true. Of course it fucking does, because that's why we keep looping in it. It's our core belief system. But if our core belief system is based in trauma, which it default is, it is down to us to begin to go back to the past, release the charge from what happened then, and begin to write a new script. And it's so difficult, you know. I've been really journeying. This year has been like one of the hardest years of my life in terms of my internal experience of what's happening, my relationship with myself. And I think, you know, like the triggers, because I've been under so much pressure with work and then in a relationship, it's, yeah, just like constant fucking igniting of the stuff that I've never been able to cope with or deal with. But what that's, and like all my tools fell away. It's literally in the past few days that I've been like, oh fuck, like when I'm in that space, when I'm really triggered, like I do EFT and I use it as a portal. And I've been living that way for 10 years. Yet for some fucking reason, these parts of me that were really asleep at the wheel have had to really come to the surface and to the forefront, so that now, at the perfect moment, when it's all activated, we can flip the script, we can change the story, we can begin to rewrite. But until these things are really active and being lived, which is what's happened on the planet, like until all of the pain is up and out, it's really difficult for us to access these pieces, feel the feelings, because that's been the issue in the first place. We couldn't feel the feelings. But if the spirit is like constantly fucking prodding the thing, it's like, ow, 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 all right, fucking hell, look at it. Whereas when it's just been like dormant, occasionally bobbing up and then going back down, occasionally bobbing up and bobbing down, it's like, you know, it's very easy to be like, I'll deal with that later. Oh, it's gone again, I'm not triggered no more. So the White Worldbridger is this opportunity for us as individuals, because the individual work is the collective work. It's not about, at this moment in time, rallying together and being like, what are we going to do, whilst everyone is just living in their childhood trauma. Like, what are we going to do with this little bit of consciousness that we've got? What are we going to build? What are we going to create? Here's all my childhood trauma. Oh, and it matches your childhood trauma, and it matches, you know, and it's like, oh, let's just fucking live in that soup instead. No, we need to be alone with ourselves in moments to be able to journey what we need to journey. And that's not to say that we need to be by ourselves, because then we don't get triggered. This is the whole thing. It's like, all right, go be a fucking monk, go be a fucking nun. It's well easier, but you're not going to be evolving in the same way because you don't have the trigger. But it's also almost impossible to be in that space of having those triggers alive all the time. And this is the bridge. of White Worldbridger. This is a gift of White Worldbridger. This is what it means to die. You know, this is what it means to resurrect. We can't just tiptoe around the things and do loads of affirmations and expect it to change, because it's fucking trauma. It's held by trauma. Like, these negative limiting beliefs are trauma. You know, it's charged and it's surrounded by protection, and there's been loads of experiences that have like solidified these notions about who we are and why we are like this, and all these different pieces. So it's like, we can't just say, I'm going to write a new world, I'm going to do a new thing, and this is why everything on the planet is exactly as it is, because we have to feel it. We have to feel the betrayal, we have to feel the abandonment, we have to feel the rejection, we have to feel the anger, we have to feel all of it, all the old stories. But then we have to clock the stories and see our responsibility within it. Okay, so in terms of the global story, we can say that we're enslaved and blah 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 blah, but also there's been a shitload of comfort in not having to take any responsibility. They've been like, oh yeah, okay, the government's going to come and give me some money and sort me out, and they should, because there's enough to go around. Are you stepping into your own life? Are you stepping into your creative magic? Are you offering to the earth and to humanity? Are you bringing your essence? So we have to see that, you know, it's not just that we are victims in these storylines that we create. We also want to be in that position in some level, even though it causes us so much pain. You know, if we're in challenge, then we get rescued. If we are, you know, whatever it is, part of this like shadow work, building the new world, is really recognizing why we are creating the old world again and again and again and again, and choosing to do something different. And it's so hard. And sometimes, you know, like I was just sharing within my own experience, we've got to go to sleep to get to hell. You know, it's making me think of Persephone. So Persephone got taken to the underworld, or, you know, we look at Snow White falling asleep. I think there has to, in order to descend fully into the realm of the ultimate pain, we have to go to sleep. All the tools have to fall away. Everything has to, in order for us to get that fucking deep. But then once we're there, if we can almost wake ourselves back up in that depth, bring the tools back online, bring the conscious awareness back in at that point, then we've got something to play with. Then we can start to build the new world. And yeah, there's space for visioning what we want. And yeah, there's space for really feeling into like, what is my service? Like, how can I bring the love that is my individual spark of magic into the world? What do I want to receive in this lifetime? You know, all of that is such a big part of creating the new world, but it means nothing until we're a vibrational match for that. And whilst we have old stories that completely go against the energy that we've kind of created in these visions, we can't get there. We have to dismantle, we have to die, we have to kill off the old ways of getting our needs met, so that we can really come into this conscious awareness. And, and this is how we build the new world. This is how we build the new world together. It's you and I and them, all building our individual worlds, all breaking down our individual hells, so that then the collective hell has been broken down. Because it is a mass dream, it is a mass reality. You know, we're all creating it, but we've all been really traumatized, and that's stuck in the subconscious. And it's like, fuck me, collective humanity is just like bringing all this stuff to the surface all the time. Like, okay, we need to deal with that, we need to feel that, we need to process that. And instead of bloody actually just feeling it and surrendering to it, we then fucking fight it. But then, like, no, this should not be happening. And it's like, oh, fuck me. Like, instead of cursing the reflection, let's own the reflection. Oh, this feels like when that happened to me, I'm going to go there. oh my God, that still feels so painful from my personal history. Fuck me. Let me sit in that. Let me do some clearing around that. Let me be with that. And that segues quite nicely. So one of the things that I've been journeying recently is I, have really struggled with emotional regulation and in terms of relationships. So this whole energy of like, when, and I've spoken to quite a lot of women, it's like when in relationship, I just go a bit fucking crazy. I can't regulate, I can't contain my emotions, I'm up and I'm down. And it also links into like the anxious attachment stuff. And yeah, I think because I've been journeying it so deeply, I know that I'm in a place to be able to support people with it. And I work, as a therapist, as an EFT practitioner, working with the Galactic mind stuff, and human design too. And in human, I'm literally made for it. In human design, I'm a projector, which my mastery comes online 1-to-1 because I can read energy and I'm here to guide and support. And the only channel that's alive in me of the 52 gates or channels, I don't know the right terminology, is the channel of emoting. Like, I'm here to do the emotional experience, and fuck me, do I do it well. But I'm learning to bring those parts of me into consciousness, into being able to hold myself and hold my own emotions. And yeah, I just feel really that it's the time for me to kind of step back in as a therapist, because it's been a long time since I've done that work. So if you do struggle with your emotions, particularly in terms of attachment and relationship, if you do tend to be an anxiously attached person, and just all of these behaviors that kind of come out of you and you're like, oh fuck me, why did I do that? When you're operating simply from the emotional brain, get in touch with me and let's fucking work together. Because I think the stuff that we journey as individuals is the stuff that we're journeying as collective people. And the more that we can be working on the same themes at the same moment, the more that we're able to liberate it from the collective. And I think this, particularly as women, we've been silenced, we've been put in mental institutions, we've had all of these things. It's like, okay, the emotion on the planet seemingly only comes through people that are in female bodies, which I know isn't the full truth. But so then for the people that are allowing it out, and that have had deep trauma, it is then this like force that we can't fucking contain, and it's chaotic, and it's like, whoa. So the more that we can learn to hold ourselves, the more that we can hold other people, the more that we can learn to hold the emotion of the planet, the emotion of Gaia. So yeah, get in touch with me with the email below this video. And the other thing to mention within that as well is that Taco's doing a men's retreat, which I'm so fucking excited about. So for the weekend of Samhain, which I think 31st of October is the Thursday through to the Sunday, he's doing a men's retreat in Tintagel, the home of Merlin, which we've got a really special connection to. And we were like toying with what this retreat was about. Like, we knew that something was happening. So I'm going to be there in like a supporter role, and I'm going to bring some feminine magic on one of the days. But yeah, it's called the Knights of Albion, and Albion being, the original word for this island that we inhabit of Britain. And then the code of the night is really this kind of, divine masculine energy that is in devotion to the feminine, in devotion to the land. And I think, in the same way as what I was just speaking about in terms of the chaos of the feminine, and really being, it's about the coaching that I'm bringing is about being able to allow our inner masculine to hold us as we kind of move through the energy. And this retreat is that energy being able to, because masculine energy of like doing, of creating, of building, of being is like fucking amazing. But when it's not in devotion to the feminine, everything goes fucking Pete Tong. And I don't mean in devotion to women, I mean in devotion to the land. So during the retreat, there's going to be a really big focus upon like the Arthurian myths, which is the mythology of this land, and within this country, or this collection of countries, particularly in the UK, in England, sorry, it's almost like all the work that's being done is borrowed from other cultures. but these are the myths of this land, like this is the energy of this land. And this whole quest to be in right relationship to support what's happening on the planet is just, it's next level. And it's only, yeah, it's like, we're by the beach, we're by the sea, we're going to be doing loads of work on the land, as well as like really deep journeying. And then on the final day, we're going to go to Glastonbury, and that's a really well-trodden pilgrimage route. So it's going to be magic. It's like moving through really deep themes of the masculine, but also having a little bit of feminine magic. And most of the time, I'm just going to be cooking. So yeah, if you know any men that might be interested in that, or you indeed yourself are interested in that, you can also email below. Sorry, that was a total tangent, but also needed to be said. So to finalize what I've been sharing in this video, it's time for us to build the new world. And ironically, the building of the new world begins by building a new internal world. Sometimes to really recognize the hells that we have been building for ourselves and one another and the collective, we've got to go to sleep a little bit to arrive in the underworld and to see like, fuck. But we have to take full responsibility that we have been living in that space and recreating it on the outer. But going back to when the story first began, when the world that we've been creating was first seeded, being with those parts of us, being with that pain, then gives us the space to break through, to come back into consciousness, to bring it to light. And from there, we can then vision, we can dream, and we can align with the worlds that we are wanting to be living, that work for you, that work for me, and that work for all of us. So I send you so much love. And thank you, as always, for tuning in with me.